Hey, fellow Lost fans, and welcome to Freckles and Blondie, the podcast where we do our best to break down the always morally complicated television show Lost. I'm Randy.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 20, Do No Harm. This episode originally aired on April 6, 2005. It was directed by Stephen Williams, who previously directed our last Jack episode, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues.
Oh, maybe he only does Jack episodes.
Maybe
That's his requirement for working.
In his contract. It was written by Janet Tamaro, and this is her first writing credit for Lost. But she's written for a bunch of other shows, including Law & Order, CSI, and Bones.
Yeah, and I noticed it's her only episode of Lost that she ever does. She's
really? Ever?
Flew on in and flew back out.
It's a kind of a heavy episode to just, drop in one time. That's interesting.
Yeah, especially compared to last episode where we had Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse. So
right.
It's like the two heaviest hitters and then just some random person.
Right. Which is kind of like a part two
to
last week's episode.
Yeah. It really feels like a part two to me, but it doesn't feel similar in tone at all. It's just like plot wise. It was almost like last episode was set up for this. Yeah,
definitely. So, how do you feel about this episode, Tiffany?
Why do you ask, Randy?
Because it's about your favorite character, Jack. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you hate watching this episode?
It's really hard. Like a 5.
All right. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So,
I mean, I just felt like this shouldn't have even been Jack's episode. I felt like this should have been Boone's episode. Or at the very least, Shannon's. I think it would have been so nice to have like Shannon's backstory.
Yeah, but Shannon isn't even there. How would that have worked?
But that would have been like, it would have added to like the tragedy. I think we need to like focus on Boone instead of Jack right now. And I just feel like focusing on him is taking away from this significant moment of our first main character death.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you would say that. I don't really care about or like Boone, so...
I don't either, but this episode doesn't help things, Like, and a lot of people do like him, and...
Really?
They do, Randy. They tell me on Instagram, and I'm like,
okay,
really?
I'm sorry.
We're alone in this.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think we're alone, but it's an important moment for the show to like, for the first death, So.
Right.
I just think it's weird to focus on Jack, and we're not even really learning anything very new about him. This is like what we learn about him is basically that he was married, and everything else thematically we already knew. We already know he like doesn't want to give up on his patients, and he's really determined, and this is no new information.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not new information, but I think it makes sense for it to be about Jack because, I mean, with Boone being so hurt and Jack being their leader/doctor on the island, he was always going to be heavily involved in this scenario.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. To me, it wouldn't make sense for it to be about anyone else, but...
Not even Boone?
No, I mean, Boone's like not even conscious for half this episode. I don't know. It's just, I just don't like him. So maybe that's why I'm saying this. Right. But again, if you like Boone, good for you.
Right. Yeah. I don't even like Boone. I just feel like we should spend time with him. And like, if we had a flashback to like a good side of Boone, it would make losing him sadder. Or if we had a flashback to like Shannon and Boone growing up and like why they were so close, like that would make you sadder that he died. But instead we're putting all the spotlight on Jack, and it's taking away from the big thing that's happening.
But I feel like if Boone had had some tragic backstory, it wouldn't have been true to what his character has been shown to be up until this point.
It doesn't have to be tragic. It could just be like something good he did, or the better side of his and Shannon's relationship, or anything. Like,
but what if there never was a better side to their relationship? What if it was always just selfish and manipulative and he was always just this privileged kid?
I mean, that could be true, but when you're writing the episode, you can create that.
I suppose.
I just think that would have made like the moment when he's gone just so much sadder if you were like, oh man, he had potential, you know? He didn't get the chance to like change and grow and evolve like we want for all these characters.
True. I mean, it wasn't very impactful when he did die, at least for me.
Yeah. There's so many other like big scenes in Lost, and they really drive home the tragedy of it. But this, I know a lot of people feel really strongly about this, but I don't really feel that much when Boone dies, and I think I would if we actually focused on him. And I think everything Jack is doing on the island is great, and I wouldn't change those scenes. Like, I like how desperate he is and everything he goes through to fix Boone. Mm-hmm. Keep that stuff, but make the flashbacks about Boone.
Okay. Yeah, that might have been more interesting.
So that's my thoughts. How did you feel?
You know how I feel about Jack. I love Jack. So I think this is a solid episode. I do agree, like I just said, that we don't really figure out anything new about him, but I always find his backstories interesting. And especially, you know, his dad is involved in this one like he usually is. So I think that's interesting. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's not like, it wouldn't be up there in my top episodes for this season, I don't think, but I think it does some things really well.
I think you just enjoy spending time with Jack.
I do. I can't deny it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So I guess taking a cue from what you did last week, I feel like we should just mention the title of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Very good call.
So the title is Do No Harm, which, as I'm sure a lot of people know, refers to the Hippocratic Oath that I guess all medical students / doctors, you know, all medical providers take when they start to study that field. It does have Latin and Greek origins, and as I was reading online, one way to define the term is to say that, like, given an existing problem, it may be better not to do something or even to do nothing rather than risk causing more harm than good.
Very fitting.
Yeah, that's all over this episode. So I like that title. I like that they chose that for this episode.
Yeah, it suits it very well. Do no harm. That's like you could carry that into almost any Jack episode. It's like a theme for him.
Right.
So much of this episode is the Marshall story rehashed. And that was the same problem. Like, sometimes you just gotta stop.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, should we get into this episode?
Let's do the thing.
All right. Previously on Lost, Boone and Locke struggled to find a way to open the hatch, and they found an airplane in the jungle, which ended in disaster for Boone. When arriving back at camp, Locke informs Jack that Boone fell off a cliff before peacing out. It's chaos at the caves as Jack directs people to help him move an injured Boone. He tells Sun to apply pressure to Boone's chest and asks Kate to ransack Sawyer's stash for alcohol. Suddenly, Boone's lung collapses. Jack manages to punch a hole in his chest to help him breathe, and everyone else looks properly horrified. Jack yells at Kate to get to the beach, and we cut to our first flashback.
I'm just like staring at everybody. Like, why are you doing nothing?
Yeah, lots of people are just standing around, staring at this horrible thing that's happening.
I know. It's so frustrating. Like,
yeah.
God, can no one be useful?
I know. Although there's a shot of Kate's face after Jack shoves that tube, I guess, into Boone's chest. And it's like so horrified, it's almost funny. It's really...
Oh, yeah.
In a flashback, Jack is helping his friend Mark with a tuxedo and tie. He tells him that it's a big responsibility he's facing, and that he still has a chance to back out. Mark says that he'll be fine, and that it's just a speech. He'll need some liquid courage first. Another guy brings in a tuxedo, saying it's for the groom, and hands it to Jack. Mark, in turn, tells Jack that he can still back out.
It's such a weirdly unnecessary fake out.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. The reveal that, like, Jack's, the one who's gonna get married. Because obviously this marriage didn't work out because he never talks about his wife on the island, so...
I mean, you don't know it didn't work out. He could this could be his hesitation with Kate. You don't know.
What? Please. Jack would never do that.
The Jack you think you know, Randy.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see why you would say it was unnecessary, but I kind of liked it.
I don't hate it.
Okay. Back at the caves, Jack's looking at Boone's leg, which appears to have a pretty bad fracture. He'll have to set it. Sun asks if Jack can sew up his chest, but Boone's lost a lot of blood. Jack tells Boone that he's not going to die and that he's going to save him, and we cut to the title scene.
'Cause you're Jack. That's what you do.
Yeah, that is what you do. I feel like when Jack says, I'm going to save you, it kind of seals Boone's fate. Like, once he says that, I'm like, oh, he's definitely going to die.
Yeah.
At the beach, Michael, Walt, and Sawyer are taking a lunch break while Jen works on the raft. Claire walks by and asks how long before the raft is ready. Michael estimates about a week. Claire seems distracted and leaves without joining the group for lunch. Michael tries to get Jen to take a break as well, but he refuses. Sawyer comments that Jen seems determined to get off the island as soon as possible, and that he can't really blame him after the bombshell that Sun dropped. Kate interrupts the discussion, demanding Sawyer's alcohol.
Okay, why is Claire asking about the raft? She's obviously in labor and doesn't want to tell anyone. Does she really think it's going to be done in 5 minutes and she's going to like set sail somewhere right now?
Maybe she's like so scared. Like that's where her mind's going.
Uh-oh, I'm having contractions. Let me go see how the raft is doing. What?
Oh my God.
Doesn't make any sense.
I never thought about it that way. That's actually hilarious. I always just thought she was trying to just take her mind off things and just, since the raft was there, she was like, oh, let's talk about the raft for a few minutes so I don't have to think about what's happening to me right now.
It's never bothered me before because I always forget that she's in labor at that moment. But now in hindsight, I'm like, what? No.
Oh, poor Claire.
Maybe she had used that time to like start walking to the caves and go see Jack, everything could have been very different.
Right. That should have probably been her first instinct. But...
Nope, her first instinct was getting off the island and she somehow thought she could do that in like an hour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and Sawyer gives all his alcohol to Kate. That's great.
Oh, listen, we'll talk about that. I mean, he shouldn't have had it in the first place.
Oh my God, Randy.
Okay.
He's doing something now
stop
that is good.
Stop it.
Why can't we not appreciate the good moments Sawyer has?
Because this should never have happened in the first place. All right, let me just get to the next scene so we can talk about this.
Get to the scene so we can discuss.
Sawyer hands over his stash of alcohol, while Kate tells him that according to Locke, Boone fell off a cliff while they were out hunting. Sawyer comments that they never seem to bring back any boar from these hunting trips. He offers to go with Kate back to the caves, but she declines. So, I know we've talked about this before, or at least I've talked about how selfish it is that Sawyer, as soon as they got to the island, he goes through the luggage and the fuselage and basically took everything for himself. And I know you have zero problems with this, but...
I do not have zero problems with it. That's not true.
The point is that Jack shouldn't have needed to ask Kate to run to Sawyer for the alcohol in the first place. Like, he needed that for medical purposes. He knew he was going to need that in the future for medical reasons. And Sawyer has literally all of it. It's so selfish.
I don't have zero problem with it.
Okay.
Yes, Jack should have it. I assume he asked for it, but I don't know. Because all we heard is Kate said Jack was looking for it, and Sawyer's like, haha, that's funny. But anyway, I feel like we've beat Sawyer to death for stealing all this stuff. And 18 episodes later, or 17? Where are we?
20, or whatever.
Oh my god, are we 20 episodes?
Yeah, crazy.
Jesus. Okay, well, he took all the stuff. That was bad. But it's done. He did it. And now he's giving it to her without a second thought and asking if she needs anything else from his stash.
Oh, please. I mean, that's great, but he shouldn't have had it in the first place. Like, Jack needed that as soon as possible.
I'm just saying, he started in a bad place, and the whole point of, like, what these characters are going through is that they're growing and changing, and this is part of it. Like, there's no battle, there's no, like, trade me this. It's just, here you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not a complete monster. Can you imagine?
Sawyer has, like, 30 seconds in this episode.
I know. I shouldn't have brought it up, but, you know, I had to.
We just can't help it.
I know, we can't.
We can't help ourselves.
I guess props to Sawyer, but not really. But at the caves, Jack is finishing sewing up Boone's chest while Boone wheezes in the background. He tells Sun that Boone needs blood and that they're going to have to find a way to do a transfusion. Jack goes to set Boone's leg, but Sun insists that he get some air. As he's walking away, Charlie starts to bombard him with questions, but Jack doesn't know how Boone is, what exactly happened, why Locke took off, or where Shannon is. So I feel like Charlie's just a little annoying in this scene.
Very annoying.
You know? And I hate to say that because I love Charlie, but all these questions aren't helping anyone. Like, why don't you go and find Shannon yourself, Charlie? Jack is busy right now.
Exactly. Like, these are the problems that you could actually be solving.
Right.
Like, chop chop.
Yeah.
Let's go.
This reminds me of the scene in Jack's last flashback episode when, I don't think Jack was involved, but when Michael was talking to Locke about Ethan and he was asking all these questions to Locke, and Locke was like, you know, why don't you go this way and try and, like, be helpful in your own way instead of asking me all these questions which I don't have the answers to.
Right. This is the same as if you're in a hospital. You don't barge into the operating room and be like, hey, how's it going in there? What's going on? What's that? What do you do with this?
Exactly.
He's very childish in this moment.
Yeah. Not great, Charlie. Not great. In a flashback, it's the wedding rehearsal dinner, and the future Mrs. Jack Shepherd gets up to give a speech. She tells everyone that 2 years ago, she was in a bad car accident and was hit head-on by an SUV. Her back was broken, and everyone told her that it couldn't be fixed. Everyone but Jack. He promised that he would fix her, and he did. She says she'll be able to dance at their wedding because of Jack, and calls him her hero.
I feel really bad for her.
Do you?
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know if this is just my interpretation or if this is how we're supposed to get, or what we're supposed to get from this episode, but throughout this episode, I don't feel like Jack loves her, but I feel like she really does love him. And it's really sad. Like, I feel like this was like the perfect fairy tale to her. You know, like she got hurt and he fixed her like miraculously and he was literally her hero. And then he just like, he doesn't even look happy in this scene as she's telling that story. It's just like, it's the beginning of my bad vibes for them.
I don't feel like he doesn't love her. I feel like especially in some of the later scenes, you can really tell, at least I feel like you can really tell that he does love her. But I feel like they're both kind of in this relationship under, I don't want to say false impressions, but it's like you just said, like, I feel like he saved her and that's kind of the main reason why she's so enamored with him. And then I feel like because Jack was able to fix her when everyone said it was impossible, that's also why he's in love with her. So it's like, it's not really a good foundation for a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really confusing. They're not very clear on it. And like, I think he doesn't. And I think that the whole like flashback, all his flashbacks, he seems so, I don't know, like, I mean, we'll talk about him more as we go through those scenes, but I definitely don't think he does.
Okay. I disagree, but okay. Sarah's also played by Julie Bowen, which I totally forgot until I was rewatching this episode. I don't know why.
Should I know who she is?
I think she's been in a bunch of stuff, but she's probably most known for Modern Family. Have you ever watched that show?
Oh, okay. No, I don't watch that show.
I've only seen a handful of episodes.
I don't watch shows designed to make you laugh.
I'm sorry. What was that statement you just made? So like all comedies are just out for you?
Pretty much. They never work on me.
Wow.
That's not true. Gilmore Girls is hilarious.
I was gonna say, it's not true.
It's not really a comedy though.
Wow. All right. Well, new insights from Tiffany.
I'm being dramatic. I like some happy shows that make you laugh.
Yeah. That's funny.
But no, I've never seen Modern Family.
Yeah. Like I said, I've only seen a handful of episodes, but I was like, oh, that's Julie Bowen. I don't know why.
She's a good actress.
That. Yeah. I like her.
We'll see her again in Jack flashbacks, and I always like her.
Yeah, me too. At the caves, Jack is preparing to set Boone's leg, and Sun comes over with a stick, telling Jack to give it to Boone for the pain. Jack says that they're beyond herbal remedies, but as Sun puts it between Boone's teeth, it's clear that it isn't an herbal remedy. Jack wrenches Boone's leg back into place, and Boone starts screaming. So yeah, this is awful to watch.
Indeed. God bless Sun, though.
Yeah.
She is amazing in this episode. I love everything about her.
She is. She's exactly what Jack needed.
She is. She's extremely capable.
Mm-hmm.
She can help him with everything he needs. She can solve problems herself.
Yeah.
She knows exactly when he needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had listened to her the first time, he probably would have felt a lot better, but she tried.
Yeah, she did try. It would have gone a lot worse if she hadn't been there.
Definitely. She really holds it together when nobody else seems to be able to.
Yeah, very true. Kate is running through the jungle with a backpack of alcohol bottles when she trips. She's examining the broken bottles when she hears a noise. She walks a little way to find Claire, who is clutching her stomach and in obvious pain. She tells Kate to leave her alone, but Kate correctly guesses that she's having the baby, as if this episode could not get any more dramatic.
Yep. I think it's great timing to have her have the baby in this episode.
Yeah, it is. It works with Boone dying and this. It works well together, I think.
Yeah.
Coming back, Kate tries to convince Claire that she is in fact having her baby and that they need to get to Jack right away, but Claire is not having any of it, saying that she can't do this and refusing to move. Kate starts yelling for help. Jen hears and rushes through the jungle to find them. When he arrives, Kate shoves the backpack full of alcohol into his hands and tells him that they need Jack. Jen runs off to find him.
All I read about this scene is that shot of Jen running was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I do.
It's like one long shot and he's run, and then they like pan all the way around him. It's awesome. You know, he had to do that like 50 times.
Yeah. Yeah. In a show where we get a lot of shots of people running through the jungle, it was a good one.
It really was. It really was a standout running shot.
I thought it was interesting how Jen is apparently like completely alone on the beach working on this raft when like 5 minutes ago, Michael and Sawyer and Walt were sitting there along with like, I feel like all these other background people.
Yeah.
Like when he hears Kate's voice yelling for help and he looks around, like it is deserted. He might as well be on a separate island by himself. Like what happened to everyone?
Yeah, I feel like it would have been better if he'd been like fishing or something.
Yeah.
That makes sense for you to be isolated.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Minor thing, but it was kind of strange.
It's a minor thing, but I mean, just like Claire asking about the raft when she's in birth, it's just like these little minor things just kind of add up in this episode and kind of bug me.
Yeah. Yeah. At the caves, Jack's trying to find out Boone's blood type, insisting that Sun keeps asking, although Boone doesn't look like he's in any condition to answer. Jack's frustrated because he's trying to find a needle he can actually use, but so far he only has bamboo. Surprisingly, Boone manages to whisper that he's A negative, and Jack tells Sun to find Charlie and get him to ask everyone what their blood type is. He also tells her to find Shannon. Which, I mean, they should probably already have been looking for Shannon. Not necessarily Jack because he's busy, but anyone else.
Yes. Anyone but Jack and Sun. Sun's clearly doing her thing. I'm surprised that Boone of all people knew his blood type.
I am too.
Like later when he comes back and says like most people didn't know, Boone would totally be in the camp of didn't know his blood type.
I completely agree. It's kind of bizarre that he does. I'd love to know the story behind that.
Yeah. I also don't know if I would give this job to Charlie.
Why?
Because he's so spazzy right now and he's like not holding it together very well.
It's true. They should have given it to Hurley.
That's exactly what I wrote. You should give it to Hurley because he's great at this stuff.
Yeah.
And he would get all the information and everyone would be happy to tell him. But, you know, I guess it works out fine.
Fair point. Shannon and Saeed are shown walking through the jungle. Apparently, Saeed has chosen the absolute worst day to surprise Shannon with a secluded picnic on the beach. Shannon looks very happy, which makes what's currently happening to Boone all that much worse.
Yep. It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah, these scenes we get with Shannon and Saeed are just so... They're almost... I mean, they're very sweet, but they're almost jarring when we're going back and forth between what's happening with Boone and even what's happening with Claire. It's kind of strange.
Well, I feel like it's that kind of beautiful contrast that you kind of want, where you've got like the happy thing and then the sad thing that pulls you back into reality. And I would have liked more of this, not necessarily like more Shannon and Saeed, but like maybe them talking more about Boone. And like I was saying in the beginning, like I think more from the Boone Shannon story would have been so nice in this episode. And it's a big episode. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I can see why that didn't happen. But
yeah,
again, you just take out Jack's flashbacks and you got a lot of time.
All right. Just kind of pulls me, every time they cut to their scenes, it kind of pulled me out of all the drama that's happening with Boone, and not in like a good way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it'd be better if they somehow managed to connect that. And if it was like a Boone Shannon flashback, you would connect it. 'Cause you'd be connected with both of them.
That's true. That is true.
Like this whole episode, the significance should be Boone and Shannon just lost her brother. It just doesn't feel that way. It feels like something else.
Yeah.
This scene had like one of those moments that bugged me too. Because in the beginning, they're like walking through the jungle and Saeed's like, I think it's this way. Or maybe it's this way. And she's like, do you not know where you're going? And he's playing that totally straight. I feel like if it's Saeed, he should be joking because of course he knows the way.
Yeah, that's
right?
so true. Like if anyone knew where they were going, it would be Saeed for sure.
Yeah. And like he's been here. He made this little romantic setup. He's been here before. He knows how to get here. I just don't buy this. This is stupid.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like it either.
If he just played that like sarcastically, like, oh, where are we? But he doesn't because Shannon really thinks they're lost.
Yeah, maybe he tried to play it that way and it just didn't come through on screen. I don't know.
That just irked me a little bit.
Yeah, there are a lot of moments like this in this episode that I feel like keeps it from being, for me anyway, a great episode. There's just...
Yeah. They're almost like out of character moments.
Yeah.
Like Charlie doesn't seem himself.
Right.
Saeed doesn't seem himself. Even Shannon doesn't really seem herself.
Yeah. It's weird. At the caves, Charlie finds Jack and says he hasn't had much luck finding someone with a matching blood type for Boone. Not surprisingly, no one knows their own blood type. Sun comes back with a sea urchin. She tells Jack he can use this for a needle. Jack decides that since his blood type is O negative, which is a universal donor, he'll give his own blood, although it could make Boone go into shock. Charlie asks if Boone's going to die, and Jack insists that this is not going to happen.
Of course, Jack's a universal donor. Of course he is. It's in his blood to be this way.
That was harsh.
What? No, I mean it seriously. Like that completely suits his character. Like
to be a universal donor.
Yes, that is who Jack is. He is the giver and he just gives and gives and gives.
That's very true.
I wasn't trying to hate on Jack, Randy.
No, I was just kidding, Tiffany. I'm sorry.
Try and say something nice about Jack. I clearly don't know how to do that.
Oh gosh.
Just gotta stick to what I'm good at.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But Sun is a bloody genius.
Yeah, she's a lifesaver in this episode.
I love when she shows up with that, like, pufferfish or whatever that is.
Yeah. I thought it was a sea urchin. It could have been something else.
You're probably right. I have no idea what sea creatures are.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a very good idea. It's after the rehearsal dinner, and Jack is playing the piano in the hotel lobby. His fiancée Sarah comes over, commenting on a group of girls who are checking him out. They start to play Heart and Soul together, and Sarah tells Jack that he doesn't have to do this, and it was a silly idea. Jack insists that they're just vows, and he just needs a little more time to figure out the right thing to say. He glances at the hotel doors as more people arrive, obviously looking for his absent father. Sarah assures Jack that he'll be there before she walks away. I like this scene. I know you don't agree, but I think the two of them work well as a couple.
I think they're cute. I just don't think he loves her. I think that they're, like, getting along and they're friendly, but that doesn't necessarily mean you love each other.
Mm-hmm.
I do think she loves him. I think that his struggle with these vows is deeper than I don't know how to write. Like, he says he's been working on these for a month and he can't think of anything. I just think that that's like an internal problem he's having. Like, he doesn't know what to say because he doesn't actually have these feelings for her. And he wants to, but he doesn't.
I don't know. I feel like he's not really a character that strikes me as someone who would love writing their own vows. So, I don't know. I feel like the last scene we get with them, I get from that scene that he loves her, but I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I'm like more sure of it after his conversation with Christian.
Okay. Yeah. Jack looking for his dad in the scene is sad.
Yeah, it is. His dad really clouds his life. Like everything he does, he is thinking about his dad.
Right. His dad is like such a shitty parent. Ugh, guys. It's just not okay.
I like him in this episode though. Christian.
Yeah. He's fine. For once.
I think as far as terrible parents go, I don't think he's like the absolute worst.
I mean,
certainly not on the show.
Right. It's not after last week, obviously.
I think he has a struggle with alcoholism and that has ruined their relationship. But I think he means well in a weird kind of way.
I don't.
I always think he means well because I think he always just thinks he's being hard on him and pushing him to be his best, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's an asshole. I think that...
Oh, I think he's an asshole too.
To me, that scene, that flashback scene we got in White Rabbit when he was talking to Jack when he was like 12 about how he would never be good enough and like... That doesn't scream good intentions to me. Like he should have known as an adult saying those things to Jack, who was just a child, that was going to have a serious effect on him for the rest of his life. And it has.
Yeah, it definitely has. Mixed feelings about Christian. He's a complicated guy.
As is everyone on this show.
Jack's not that complicated.
Okay, let's move on.
I'm sorry, he's just not.
Oh, God.
That's why in this episode, everything that's happening has already happened. Like all these Jack issues we've dealt with before in different ways. And we're only in season 1.
That's true. I mean, this is his 3rd flashback episode. No other character has had 3 flashback episodes. So I'm not really sure what else they were planning on doing with him at this point. You know, I feel like they've been establishing these characters. They have to keep it consistent. We don't learn anything new about Jack in this episode. I've said that, but...
Yeah, I just would like to. That's all.
Jin reaches the caves and finds Jack, Sun, and Charlie with Boone. With Sun acting as a translator, he tells them that Claire is in labor. Charlie starts freaking out, talking about bandages and hot water, and Jack tells Charlie to tell Kate to wait until the contractions are 60 seconds apart before Claire starts to push. Jack isn't going to leave Boone, and Kate is going to have to deliver the baby.
It'll be fine, Kate. Don't worry.
Yeah, you got this, Kate. It's now dark, and Kate has built a fire for her and Claire. Claire says the contractions have stopped, and she starts to leave when her water breaks. She's very upset and keeps repeating that she can't have the baby now, but Kate assures her that Jack is coming.
This whole storyline with Kate and Claire seemed so much scarier to me before I had a baby.
Really? It seems less scary to you now that you've had a baby?
Yeah, because now I'm like, Claire, you could do this by yourself in the middle of the jungle. It's fine.
Wow.
I'm glad you got Kate to hang out with you.
Wow. Well, I haven't had a baby, so this whole situation is terrifying.
Oh, I'm not saying it's easy by any means. Surely I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the people around you don't really do anything. So I'm not worried for her like I used to be.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's nice if something were to go wrong, you would want Jack to be there. But usually, you know, in birth, things do not go wrong. They're usually fine. And Claire will be just fine.
All by yourself.
Yeah.
Awful.
You got this, Claire. It's no big thing.
Yeah. Sure. Jack is still giving Boone his blood when Boone wakes up. and says that he screwed himself up pretty bad. He tells Jack that a plane fell on him and mentions the hatch that he and Locke found. He says Locke told him not to tell anyone. Jack looks upset, asking what exactly Locke did, when Boone starts asking for Shannon. And I mean, at this point, you have to think, like, where is Locke? It's been hours and hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he care if Boone's okay or not?
Suddenly his absence is very noticeable.
Yeah. It's messed up.
I always wonder if Locke had stayed and said what really happened, if it would make any difference. Because, like, I almost wish that it, like, was significant, like, it would make a difference. But
yeah.
I don't think it would. Because Jack immediately knows what's wrong with Boone and immediately knows what to do. So I feel like we can't say, well, if Locke had just stayed and explained what actually happened, maybe Jack wouldn't have done the wrong thing, you know? Like, I wish the consequences had actually played out instead of just the idea of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you could argue that it was already too late for Boone and that he was always going to die even if Jack had known.
Right.
But I feel like Jack makes some comments later on that make me think that he would have done something medically different if he had known how Boone had been injured.
That's just hard to see when, like, as soon as Boone's lung collapses, Jack immediately knows that happened, immediately leaps into action to solve that problem. Like, his leg is obviously injured. There's no question about that. Maybe it would have changed, but there's nothing, like, really definitive that tells me it would have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gray area. I just think that it seems like his leg really becomes the issue throughout this whole episode. You know,
right.
Like, the blood transfusion doesn't work because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Jack wants to amputate. It's not a good idea. So maybe if he had known how it had been injured, it would have been different.
Maybe.
You can't tell one way or the other, I don't think.
Yeah. I think it would have been nice if they were really clear about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because then it would have made Locke's leaving worse.
Right.
And it would have made Jack's anger more understandable.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's pretty understandable, but...
I think it is, but I think it would have been even, like, more justified.
Very true. Shannon and Saeed are making out in their secluded spot, and frankly, she's having a better night than everyone else in this episode. She tells Saeed that Boone is not actually her brother, he's her stepbrother, and he's in love with her. Shannon says she'll always feel something for Boone, but that she doesn't love him like that. Saeed suggests that maybe they should return to camp, but Shannon doesn't want to go back. She just needs to take it slow. Saeed agrees, saying that he had no expectations.
Hopes, not expectations.
Right.
This is sweet, and I still feel the same as their last scene, where I just wish we're connecting this a little tighter to what's going on with Boone.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's cute, but it's hard to focus on it with what's happening with Claire and Boone at this point.
Mm-hmm. Like if she told Saeed some funny story about when they were little kids or something. Like, oh, I care about my brother, but I don't love him like he loves me.
Right.
This is the perfect opportunity to talk about how she cares about him.
Yeah. They probably should have thrown that in there, especially with... It would have made it more impactful with what happens at the end of this episode.
Exactly. I mean, she says she loves him, but not in that way. But she just needs to say more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Charlie and Jin find Kate and Claire in the jungle. Jin goes over to comfort Claire, and Charlie informs Kate that Jack is pouring his own blood into Boone and he can't come. Kate suggests moving Claire to the caves, but Charlie says Kate has to deliver the baby. Kate looks real freaked out and says she can't do this. Claire's worried about the time she spent with Ethan, wondering if he may have done something to hurt the baby. She's not ready and she's scared, but Kate tells her that they'll get through this together. So yeah, whenever I watch this episode, I always think about Kate in this situation. Like, that must be terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see why they're both scared, for sure.
Yeah, it's a very intense situation.
It would be very overwhelming.
Yeah, especially, I mean, she's never done anything like this before, I'm assuming, so.
Yep. But it's a testament to Kate that she just steps up and does this.
Yeah, I mean, she's great in this episode.
Yeah. She's a strong person.
Mm-hmm.
She's not just gonna flip out or faint or whatever anyone else might do.
Yeah, she's like what Sun is doing for Jack, she's kind of doing for Claire.
Yeah, true.
Back at the caves, Sun checks on Boone and tells Jack that the blood transfusion isn't working. Apparently, Boone's leg is the problem. All the blood is pooling there. Jack says that Boone wasn't injured from a fall and that something crushed his leg. Sun rips out the tube in Jack's arm and says that Jack's given Boone enough blood. Jack walks over to Hurley and asks where Michael is. He tells Hurley to go get him from the beach.
Yeah, I like this. I like Sun telling him, like, he needs to stop here.
Yeah, I mean, someone does before he passes out.
Yeah. This is kind of Jack's problem, is his tunnel vision, and not, like, he misses the bigger picture sometimes. He's the perfect example of that person who misses the forest through the trees. You're like, Jack, I know you're trying to save this guy, but if you pass out right now, like, nobody can help him.
Yeah.
But he's just so intent on, like, doing this one thing, not seeing the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah, I would argue that sometimes it works in his favor, like when he was able to save Charlie after he was hung from that tree.
Yeah.
But in some situations like this, it doesn't work in his favor.
Definitely. Which I can see that being your fatal flaw in a way, because if it works out sometimes, it's not going to feel like a problem.
Right. It's going to feel like the greatest thing when it works out. Like when he saved his wife, Sarah, I'm sure that felt like the greatest thing. But...
Right. And I mean, like his dad says, that's part of why he can't take it when he fails. He doesn't see an alternative to it working out.
Ugh. I find him so interesting because of this, because of his commitment when I feel like anyone else would give up in these situations. I don't know. I find that fascinating about him.
I think it's admirable. I just don't think it's interesting. I just think that's who Jack is, and good for Jack, but there's nothing that I feel like I need to think about there, you know? Yeah,
I just think it is admirable because I'm not like that at all.
That's not true. You just drove across the country, Randy.
Oh God, what a nightmare that was.
That's dedication.
Yep, and I didn't get murdered, so you should be proud of me.
I'm very proud that you survived. Randy literally did drive across the country last week, you guys.
I did. It was a lot, but I made it.
And now we're far, far away from each other.
I know.
Though we sound so close.
Yeah. It's weird how the internet works that way.
I know.
In a flashback, Jack is sitting by the hotel pool drinking and still struggling to write his vows. His father arrives, and the two of them seem to be on better terms than they have in previous flashbacks. Jack admits that he stole Sarah's vows from their room and that he can't write his. He's worried that he won't be a good husband and that he's only marrying Sarah because he saved her life. He asks his dad if he should get married, and Christian responds that commitment is what makes Jack tick, but that he has a problem with letting go.
This is when I think we're highlighting Jack's problem here. Mm-hmm. He is always willing to commit. Commitment is never the issue for him. It's letting go when he needs to, and when he's got this girl who he can't think of why he loves her, that's time to let go. And he can't, because he can't do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still not totally convinced that he doesn't love her. I just feel like he loves her for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Just, solely based on the fact that he saved her and fixed her.
You think he loves her because she's like a success story?
Yeah, I do. I think that if he hadn't been able to fix her, they wouldn't be getting married.
Well, sure. He wouldn't have married a girl who couldn't walk.
Oh, that's awful. No, I think that he does love her, but it's not for the right reasons. And I feel like we don't really get a lot of scenes with Sarah, so we don't know her that well, but I feel like she also loves Jack for the wrong reasons because he saved her.
Right. Yeah, that could be true.
So yeah, this relationship definitely feels doomed from the start.
It does. It feels like on paper, these two are a fairy tale.
Yeah.
But that maybe in reality, there aren't fairy tales.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how his dad, for all the problems that Jack and his dad have, his dad knows Jack so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always enjoy that about him.
Yeah.
And I think even when he's being like needlessly cruel to Jack, he's right most of the time.
Yeah.
Like in that scene when he was a little kid, he was just telling Jack that he can't handle failure, and he really can't. It's kind of one of the biggest problems in his life. So I guess I give Christian a little bit of a pass because he's saying things that I kind of agree with.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but I still feel like he shouldn't have said that to Jack when he was just a kid.
Yeah, you still don't say that to your child, but I still don't think he meant as much harm by it as I'm sure Jack took. Also, he was drinking, and not that that's any excuse.
Sure isn't.
Just, maybe he wouldn't have done that if he was sober.
I don't know. I don't think I give him as much of a pass, if any, as you give him, but
maybe I wouldn't, but I know some people who have struggled with alcoholism, so I guess I bring that into it a little bit. And I know that it is a super difficult thing, and it can change you, and you can be two different people on and off. And that's definitely something we push with Christian, is his drinking. I mean, they're drinking here by the pool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to judge anyone because, alcoholism is a disease. I still feel like it's not
cool, and it's not okay.
It's not an excuse for
yeah.
treating your son this way.
It's definitely not. I just think that it's possible that he cares and wants to be a good dad, basically. As much as he's making mistakes at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that deep down that he does care.
I think it's just hard with Christian because we see what an effect he's had on Jack.
Yeah. Like all these things, commitment and failure, I feel like they stem directly from the relationship he has with his dad. Like his dad formed him as a human being. So
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
Your parents don't form you. I mean, they help.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
You're who you are just because of your parents. You didn't do any of it by yourself?
I feel like a large part is because of my parents. What they said to me, what they didn't say to me.
Interesting.
Especially because after I went back home for a year and lived with my parents as an adult, I really started to see a lot of things, a lot of habits, a lot of my thought process that were just so identical to my parents. And then we had some conversations about where they talked about how they grew up and their parents, and I was like, oh, I get it. I get why I am this way and why you are this way.
That's so funny. I mean, it certainly affects you. I definitely agree. But I think, like, just in the fact that siblings are not all the same shows you that people are who they are to a degree.
That's a good point. I think maybe it affects people differently because my sister is not that way at all. Like, she's very different. She has lived far away from home for a long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, my brothers and we're all very different.
This is a fascinating conversation. Now I'm just thinking about like serial killers and their backgrounds and their parents.
Well, and that's the thing is like if someone does turn into a serial killer, it wasn't the parents' fault. Like they could have
sometimes
created an unstable environment and, you know, it could have not been helpful to the situation, but, you know, the onus is on you to be who you are. I don't like when people blame their parents and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You could argue both ways with that, though. I feel like
Definitely.
Some kids have such abusive upbringings that when you hear about them, it's like, oh, you had no chance in life whatsoever.
You had no chance. Screwed from the start.
It's true. If you listen to as many true crime podcasts as I do,
you've got to chill on those true crime.
They're addictive. They are addictive.
That is so funny.
Yeah,
no wonder you're scared. I can't believe you're living in a basement.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
There could be axe murderers down there.
Stop it, Tiffany. I have to sleep tonight, okay?
Lost. The story of daddy issues.
Yeah, pretty much. At the caves, Jack and Michael are talking, and Jack tells him that Locke lied about what happened to Boone. Michael's helping Jack to prepare the cargo container to amputate Boone's leg. Apparently, using the axe is not an option. When Son asks what he's doing, Jack says that Boone's leg is dead, and that this is the only choice. Back with Claire, Kate is trying to get Claire to push, but she's refusing. Claire says the baby is going to know that she was planning on giving it up for adoption. Kate assures her that if she wants the baby now, that's all that matters. Claire finally starts to push, and Charlie and Jen watch from a safe distance.
Charlie and Jen are kind of fun.
Yeah. The way Jen is kind of reassuring Charlie is really adorable.
Yeah, like he's the father in the waiting room.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he was actually with Claire, but I get why he's not.
Yeah, me too.
They're not actually romantically involved. It just feels like they are.
Right. Because they're so perfect for each other.
Right. Maybe if she hadn't lost her memory, we'd be at that point, but we had to start over.
Also, I think Evangeline Lilly is really great in this scene. I mean, she's great throughout this episode, but
yeah,
particularly in this scene when she's, you know, comforting Claire. I really like that.
She plays it very well.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very subtle fear that she is masking with a kind of false bravado for Claire, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell she's terrified, but it's not over the top.
Right. I don't think that's an easy thing to do for an actor, so.
No, I always think subtlety is harder.
Yeah. At the caves, Jack and Michael are preparing Boone for the amputation. Son notices that Boone is coughing up a lot of blood, but when she shows Jack, he ignores it. She tries to tell him that Boone is bleeding internally and that he can't save him, but Jack uses one of Locke's favorite lines and yells, "Don't tell me what I can't do." As Jack prepares to do it, he tells Michael that he doesn't need to see this, and Michael understandably leaves. Son watches Jack for a few moments, but doesn't say anything, and also leaves Jack alone.
So interesting for them to use that line, "Don't tell me what I can't do."
Yeah, almost ironic considering how upset Jack is that Locke isn't there, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it connects them. Like, they are both completely dedicated to their beliefs.
Yeah,
they're both completely committed. They're just committed to different things.
Mm-hmm. I really like that, actually.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's always the people who are kind of like you who really piss you off.
That is very true. It's the wedding, and Sarah has just finished saying her vows. The priest tells Jack he can say his vows, but Jack admits that he didn't write any. He's been trying to for a month, but hasn't been able to come up with anything, possibly because he's afraid of letting go and failing. Sarah doesn't look happy, but Jack goes on to say that he would never have been able to write anything as beautiful as her vows. He claims that after her accident, he didn't fix her, she fixed him. He tells her he loves her, and they kiss as his father and the rest of the audience applause. To me, this is the scene, or this is the moment that kind of convinces me that Jack does love Sarah.
His wedding vows?
Just the emotion behind them. I don't know. I buy it. I buy that he does love her.
Maybe that's part of my problem. I always struggle with Matthew Fox too. So his emotions aren't going to sell it for me. It has to be in the writing.
Yeah. And I feel like he's not a character that gets emotional very often. So when he does, I believe it. And also, I mean, I like Matthew Fox. So that's just me.
See, I feel like he gets emotional about everything. Like when we were talking about how Evangeline Lilly was doing such awesome, subtle stuff, I feel like he is never subtle. Which is like fine, that's his thing, but it doesn't...
I wouldn't say he's never subtle.
No, I don't think he's never subtle. Like, I remember in the boardroom meeting with his dad, when he was blowing the whistle on him. I liked his performance then, but... Anyway, this is irrelevant.
Okay.
It doesn't sell me because this is your wedding. Like, you can say anything, you know, I'm more likely to believe the stuff that he was saying to his dad the night before. And this is just like, well, you know, of course you're gonna say something sweet at your wedding. You freaking better.
I mean, yeah, it feels like he's being completely honest though. He's telling her he didn't write anything, even though he's had a month.
Yeah.
But that he does love her and that she is very important to him. I don't know. It feels very heartfelt to me. It doesn't feel like something that he could have faked in that moment.
Yeah. I don't think he's faking. It's so...
You just don't believe that
so
he
hard.
loves her.
Yeah, I think he wants to love her and just kind of doesn't. I mean, he says to Christian the night before, what if I asked her to marry me because I saved her life? I feel like that tells you a lot, and his doubts are evident in that question.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid reading of it. I just feel like when I look at that scene, to me saying like, what if I only love her because I saved her life? What if that's the only reason? Right. But I mean, I can totally see why you would interpret it that way.
Well, that's the thing about this is like, you can interpret it either way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I did an Instagram poll and it was almost 50-50 on whether people thought he loved her or not. It was slightly leaning towards no when I last checked. It was like 51%. But one of those things where you can see it either way.
Yeah, that's why this show is so interesting, because you can argue so many things.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's the best.
Jack is about to perform the amputation when Boone tells him to wait. Jack says that he has to, and that this is their best chance, but Boone says there is no chance. Jack isn't going to let Boone give up, but Boone says he's letting Jack off the hook, and that he doesn't have to keep the promise he made. He tells Jack to let him go. Jack starts crying and says that he's sorry. Yeah, this is sad. I have nothing more to say about this.
I know. It's just, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing that, like, Boone has not been the most mature character.
That's for sure.
It feels like a very mature response to your death.
Yeah. kind of strange.
Again, even Boone's acting a little bit out of character. Even as he dies.
Back in the jungle, after a lot of screaming and yelling from both Claire and Kate, Claire gives birth to a baby boy. Charlie ecstatically hugs Jen, and he might as well be the actual father of this baby. It's nice.
Yeah. It's a lovely little circle of life thing.
Yeah. At the caves, Jack tries to make Boone more comfortable. Boone asks Jack to tell Shannon something, but before he can finish this sentence, he dies.
Ugh.
In what seems like a really cruel twist of fate. Jack closes his eyes, and Boone is gone. It's interesting that they would put that detail in there, that he would be like...
It's so annoying.
It's kind of unnecessary.
It's so... hasn't that been overdone to death?
I think it has.
It just makes me angry.
It doesn't make me angry, it's just annoying. It's like, why? What's the point?
It makes me angry because Boone has been laying there talking with Jack for hours.
It's so
like,
true.
If you needed to tell Shannon something, you've had time to do it. This is just such a TV thing to do.
And you, like, they set it up like he's gonna say something really profound or meaningful, and it just ends.
Right. If, like, maybe Locke had just brought him to camp and, like, he was teetering on the edge of life and he did this, maybe it's a little more okay. But this is super not okay.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it just makes it, like, when I watch this, I'm not sad. Like, it's not devastating, you know? Maybe it's because I don't like Boone, but it's just... It could have been done a little bit better.
Definitely. I mean, Jack and Boone have no relationship. Really.
Mm-hmm.
They're acquaintances at best. And it's not going to feel that sad when, you know, nobody who actually cares about Boone is around.
Yeah. That's true.
It just shouldn't have been a Jack episode.
All right.
I just feel like it would have fixed so many problems.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the last scene we get, though. I like how that unfolds. But it's the next day, and we get shots of everyone on the beach meeting Claire's baby as music plays over the scene. Everyone seems very happy to meet the baby, even Sawyer. Suddenly, Hurley taps Jack on the shoulder. Shannon and Saeed have finally returned from their trip, holding hands. Jack approaches them alone, and we get a faraway shot as Jack tells her that Boone is dead. There's a shot of Shannon alone at the caves, crying over Boone's body. She's obviously devastated. The episode ends with Jack and Kate talking on the beach. Kate asks Jack if he wants to talk about what happened, but Jack says that Boone didn't die. He was murdered, and he walks off to find John Locke.
I love this montage at the end.
I do too.
No dialogue. It's just everybody performing. It's really good. And they really do focus on Sawyer's face for a really long time with that baby.
He's never looked happier in any episode.
He really hasn't. They really needed to focus on that. Like, look, even Sawyer is psyched.
Right. He's not a complete monster. Look, here's some more proof.
Yep. Oh, it's so funny.
It's well done. I love the music playing this whole time.
I love Saeed and Shannon walking back from the beach, and they look so happy. And you just know that what they're walking into, and it's so sad.
Right. And it's perfect because there's no dialogue. So
yes,
it kind of leaves it up to your own imagination what Jack says, how he says it.
Which is better.
It's
much better.
Yeah.
And then Maggie Grace can just sell it.
She does sell it so much in just 5 seconds, it seems like.
Yeah. She is great. And it's like, this is the feeling that we have needed, you know?
Right. Like, her reaction is sadder to me than Boone actually dying. Like, it's heartbreaking, and I don't even like Shannon that much at all. It's really good.
Yeah, it feels very real, and Like, this is the impact of what's happened. This whole time, we haven't felt any impact because we've just been worrying about Jack and not focusing on this guy dying. It's just so backwards. And it kind of flips here, and it's really nice when it happens. I like the flip, but I feel like the whole episode could have been so much stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could have been a little bit stronger, but...
Like, when Jack at the end says he didn't die, he was murdered, like, that is the perfect segue into next week's episode about Jack and how Jack is dealing with this. I feel like that would have been so much better.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, for sure.
Because this episode, we didn't learn a dang thing about Jack, except that he was married. We didn't learn anything about who he is. But now that he is angry and going after Locke, this is a side to Jack that we haven't really seen before. So this would have been the perfect time to explore him.
I don't know. I don't think we would have gotten really anything new from that. I mean, he's been angry before, but I feel like it would have been the same thing. The same flashbacks, the same story from Jack.
Maybe. I just think it would be better suited not in this episode.
Yeah, I might agree with you on that. I still don't think I would have liked a whole episode about Boone or Shannon, even though Boone was dying. That would have been kind of boring to me, but...
Well, we haven't even had an episode about Shannon yet. And this is the third, arguably fourth, because the pilot is very Jack heavy too, episode about Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jack. I don't like Boone, and I don't like Shannon. I'm not interested in them. So...
I can see that. I just would want, like, the meaning of this episode to be stronger, and I feel like the whole point is Boone's death.
Also, it's still shocking to me that Locke is still not back yet. It's been, what, like, 24 hours? Like...
Yeah. I guess we deal with that next week. I don't really remember how he explains this.
I feel like he doesn't
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I am too, but... From what I remember, he doesn't really give any explanation for it.
Yeah.
Which just makes me wonder what he was doing for, like, you know, literally a day at that hatch.
Well, the light turned on.
Right. So we had to stare at it for the next 24 hours.
He's been in a trance.
Jesus, Locke, it's really not good
He's
for
like,
you.
wow. So do you agree with Jack here? That Boone didn't die, he was murdered?
I don't know. I feel like, again, you could argue either way. I could see the argument that if Jack had known how Boone's leg had been injured, he would have done something differently, and maybe he could have saved Boone by, like, the smallest of margins. Or you could say, like I said earlier, maybe Boone never had a chance and it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think Boone was murdered is quite a leap. I mean, no, he was not murdered, Jack. Okay, I get you're pissed, but it's a lofty accusation to just throw around.
Right, I mean, yeah, he wasn't murdered, but I mean...
Especially at this point when he doesn't even know, like, what actually happened. It just seems like a wildly crazy thing to say.
Right, but it's understandable because he just spent all night trying to save Boone's life, giving Boone his own blood. You know, he just went through something... I don't want to say traumatic, but because Boone's the one who died, but you know, he went through something. He obviously has not any sleep. It's a lot. So I don't fault him for saying this or for being angry, especially when I feel like the little tidbits that Boone did say about Locke and the hatch and Locke said not to tell. Like, none of this looks good for Locke at all. And the fact that he's still not there is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it definitely does not look good. Nope, not at all. So what were you thinking thematically?
So, I was thinking of a couple of different things. I feel like maybe the most obvious theme is about, you know, life and death and the circle of life. Like, that's obvious as Boone dies and Claire gives birth to her baby. I feel like that's a juxtaposition that's used a lot in storytelling.
Right.
And I think it works well in this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
But then I also wrote down, I mean, you could mention the theme of letting go and how that has to do with Jack's whole story, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I always tend to kind of pull from whatever character we're focusing on.
Right, right.
And so if we're focusing on Jack, I feel like, yeah, it kind of has to be that. Mm-hmm. I wrote, can you be too committed? Because I feel like that's kind of his struggle. But I didn't like that because it's basically what we said in the last Jack episode, which was about persistence.
Yeah.
So, but that's just always what I get from him, is that he's just really committed.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of his character. They hit on that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could kind of see this as Jack making some growth, because we saw this storyline already. We saw this with the Marshal, where he was committed to saving him when it had become clear that he was unsavable. Mm-hmm. And clear that he was suffering. And Jack just kind of, he gets so in his own head, and it's about his own, like, ability and his own failures, and he's just not seeing what's happening right there. And when he stops and lets go when he needs to at the end of this episode, I feel like that's him maybe making a little step forward that he couldn't do with the Marshal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think his intentions are still overall good when he's so committed to trying to save, you know, people like the Marshal and Boone, but
I think his intentions are good too, but he's doing harm. And that's like his whole oath is to do no harm. Right. And when you let someone suffer when they can't be saved, you can argue that that's doing harm. But you can also argue the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could also, maybe Boone would have been saved if Jack had amputated his leg.
Yeah.
But maybe he wouldn't have wanted to live like that. Like, you just don't know, you know? It's such a hard call.
Yeah. And, I mean, he's very lucky because Boone and the Marshal were both conscious enough to say, I want to die.
Right.
That makes it really simple. If you don't know how they feel, then this would have become a much harder decision.
Yeah. And again, when it works out, like when it worked out with Charlie, when Kate was telling him, you have to stop, like there's nothing more you can do, and he was able to bring Charlie back, like, sometimes it works, you know? So.
Yeah. And I think that he's like too committed to Sarah in a weird way. Mm-hmm. Like he just can't let go of the idea of this perfect thing that they have if maybe he doesn't feel it. But I know you don't feel that way, so it wouldn't connect for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think they love each other, but that they're both, it's an unrealistic love that they have.
Right.
It was never going to work out between them.
Yeah. It's just like based in weird, wrong things.
Yeah. Or it's just not based in reality. You know, like this isn't a romantic comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like, he never says one great thing about her, really. And she says he's her hero and that he's like really committed. She talks about that. But I don't know much about her because Jack doesn't really say anything about her.
Yeah. I mean, the most significant thing he says is that she fixed him instead of the other way around. But
yeah, I would love to know how that happened. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, we are running very long, aren't we?
We are. So is there anything else you wanted to say about this episode?
I would have fixed it.
Okay.
I also think I'm coming down from the high of last week, and I really enjoyed last week's episode a lot. It was very, like, meaty and dig your teeth into it kind of episode for me. And I just felt like there were so many problems in this episode. It was kind of frustrating because if they are sort of part 1, part 2, it feels like a letdown. And I don't want Boone's death to be a letdown.
I mean, I think overall I still enjoy this episode. I think it's, it has a lot to do, a lot of big, heavy, profound, and like weighty things happened. And it could have been done better, but it doesn't upset me the way it upsets you, I think. Like, I'm not mad about what we do get.
Right. Because to me, I just look at it and see a wasted opportunity because all this cool stuff is happening. I'm like, oh, this could have been really powerful.
And to me, I still think it did more things well than it didn't do well.
Gotcha.
I think that last scene with the music and the montage, I think that does a lot for me anyway to kind of erase some of the stuff earlier on that wasn't so great. Because I think that last scene is just really well done.
The last scene is great. I love the last scene too. But I don't forgive and forget.
All right. I was going to say. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I feel like after talking about it, I actually dislike it even more.
Great. Fantastic. I'm so glad that worked out well.
I didn't expect that to happen.
Wow. I feel really bad about this.
Like you're letting down the Jack camp or something?
Yeah.
It's okay, Randy. I'm just not hot on this episode. It's not even like a Jack thing in particular. I just feel like it's not well done. I feel like it could have been so much better. And that the Jack story is fine and all. It just doesn't belong in this episode. That's my main issue.
Okay.
And we're just gonna move right on.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk around in circles if we keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, should I end it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's my misery.
Shut up. Oh. Thank you as always for listening. And if you want to get more involved in the ongoing Lost conversation we're having, you can follow our Instagram account at The Lost Podcast.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I got so many amazing comments today.
Did you?
I asked them about this episode and like at least 15 people left us questions and comments and I just didn't even know where to start on answering them all. But they were so good and it's so awesome to hear how everybody is thinking and feeling about this. This is how I knew that people actually were pretty bummed that Boone died, unlike us.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Please keep sharing your feedback with us. We love that stuff. I do get on Instagram from time to time, so I'll have to get on there more to be more active in that conversation.
You could shock everybody and just make a post and be like, this is Randy.
One day. You can also follow us on Facebook if you'd like. And we're getting really close to our first Patreon goal. So if you'd like to help us reach that, find us on Patreon and you can give us $1 a month or whatever you can afford. We do have a few fun surprise episodes planned for when we meet those goals. So check it out.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's just bonus stuff for people who go above and beyond.
Absolutely. Don't forget to tune in next week when we'll be discussing episode 21, The Greater Good, where we once again get to explore Saeed's backstory.
Oh, I didn't know it was going to be Saeed next.
Yeah, I have no memory of this episode.
I don't either.
So
that's not good.
Yeah. It'll be a pleasant surprise, hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope so. I enjoy Saeed, so I'm sure I'll be more on board than I was with this one at the very least.
God, I hope so. Until then, I'm Randy.
And I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.